Good morning, it's Jillian. And what the heck is going on here? Computer's going a little crazy. Okay, so I'm doing a Facebook Live on laws and recommendations because that is something very good to know, or the difference between, because the laws are very black and white and they're based upon law and order and life. Okay, there's laws in our society that, like the laws, that are supposed to protect the people. And some people don't agree with the laws because they have a perception that the law that's in place has an ulterior motive. And that's where you have to understand why the laws are in place to begin with. Well, why don't we steal? Because that would cause chaos, and it's not nice to steal. But it's not even more than nice. You're not supposed to go and steal someone's stuff. You ask permission, because then you have chaos. Okay? So then I was looking at the justice system. Somebody posted a meme about the justice system and the disparities of two women. There's a case with two women. One is Felicity Huffman, who bribed her way into college, who lied on the application and bribed the school to get her child into college. And she only got 14 days in jail. And then there's a lady who lied on her kid's application to get into a school because you're supposed to live in the district in order to get that specific education. So she got 5 years, and she happened to be black. And so, I saw that meme. I'm like, wow, okay. Then I knew what it was. I mean, both of them broke the law. So the laws are black and white. You broke the law, and now can you afford to take on the perception of punishment in the justice system? So the justice system even is like twofold. So we have a legislative branch, we have a judicial branch, and we have the executive branch. Okay? The legislative branch makes the laws. The executive branch rules the country. The judicial branch is the one that carries out the justice system. So they're all balanced. They're all, checks and balances. So the legislature makes the laws. The justice system carries out the laws. Okay? So when you look at the justice system, it's based upon perception. The justice system is based upon perception. So when you look at these websites, now let's go into the medical holistic industry. None of them are laws. Nothing in the medical holistic industry is a law. Okay? We have the CDC and government websites saying that there's poison control when you take too much of an element, but there's no laws around that. But there are controlled substances. So that's why you have the drugs and controlled substances division of the justice system, because there are ways to put chemistry together to where it could be harmful, therefore unlawful if you get your hands on an inordinate amount of minerals. Okay, hold on a second. All right, so there are laws that are very black and white, pardon the pun, and then if you break the law, if the law is applied to you for whatever reason, then the perception on whether or not you broke the law is then goes through a due process. Evidence gets weighed out. Everyone has to build a case. You're getting now perceptions and evidence from different people, and everyone has to prove. They have to have an argument to prove their case. So that's the justice system. So you have the laws, which is the legislative branch. You have the justice system that carries out the justice, and it isn't always fair. It isn't always fair. Well, forget that for a minute. To even be in the justice system, you must have been associated with something that's unlawful. Okay? So, right there ought to tell you that that if you are going to if anyone breaks the law or skirts the law, they have to be able to afford the type of punishment they expect. And that's why there seems to be a disparity in the way punishments are given out, because it takes money to be able to afford no jail time. Okay? And that's the way the justice system is run. It's run by money. Everything's run by money, okay? So now when it comes to recommendations, so laws and recommendations, now it comes to the medical holistic industry. There's no laws on the books around the medical holistic industry that I know of to where if you take there is the drug stuff. Okay, if you take just prescription drugs are not yours, that's illegal. Okay, but if something is deemed not a drug, and then you're on the internet going and looking at all the different websites, they all have perceptions and recommendations. And so recommendations are not law. Recommendations are based upon an intent, a purpose, which means that if there's an intent and there's a purpose, what is that purpose? What's the intent? And then the language that's written in. Okay, and then you're getting a perception on the human body based upon the intent and the purpose. So what am I trying to say here? Well, this is not a very exciting video. I know that. I'm going to put that out there right now because I'm trying to figure out, well, I already kind of figured it out. But I wanted to touch upon the justice system because it is very good to get clarification on what perception is. So even built in within our three branches of government, perception is already built in. Okay, you have your black and white issues like the legislative branch, where whether it's either a law or it's not. Then the justice system is the perception of how the punishment is carried out and by who and all the things that go around the justice system. And then you have the executive branch, which is one person and departments that then oversee all the different perceptions out there and directives. So if you got anything from this video, it's going to be a short video, understand that the legislative branch is the black and white. Is it a law or not? Once you know the laws, you won't believe all the stories. Once you know the laws, you will determine whether or not you can afford to break them. And if you break a law, then you better be able to have the money for your defense, or then you'll be given a lawyer that really is not going to be invested in you because he's getting paid by the state. Because you're supposed to have a lawyer no matter what when you get accused of a crime. Okay? And so the justice system will always be a perception. Always. There's never going to be fairness. There's never going to be enough justice. It's all perception. And so I guess where I'm coming from with this is that no matter what, if once you break the law and now you're into the justice system, you got to take your licks. Whatever they are, you got to take your licks. Okay? And you have to be able to afford. And so the thing with the J juice is that if you can afford to break the laws out there, to break the laws of life, then okay, but at some point it's gonna work against you. But with the J Juice, you really don't need to afford to break the law. The J Juice, you now have to be able to afford and face up to all the times that you broke the law of your body. So some of you could afford to break the laws of your body, and now you're up shit's creek, and now you have to actually pay the piper. Like, you actually have to pay the piper. And if you can't afford to pay the piper, which means that if you don't want to take the time and you don't have the strength or enough minerals to handle paying the piper and going through the healing process, then you're going to end up in the jail of death for the rest of your life. So I guess that's where I'm coming from on this. I'm trying to find a connection here, and I mean, it's just one of these things. It's a thought process I have to verbalize. But breaking laws, you can't, you don't get away with it for a lot. Some people can get away with breaking the law for a while. Some people, because they can afford to. Other people cannot afford to break the law, so they get that justice that would seem like it's not justice, or it would seem like it's like very extreme, but it's not. You didn't have enough money, you didn't have enough minerals, and now you're on a death trajectory and you're in the prison of the jail of. So that's where my whole point is. Holy crap. And I didn't know what my point was. It had to actually come out through this video. So if you can afford to break the law, it'll be for a certain amount of time. But then eventually you're going to have to pay the piper. So even money in our system will buy you, a get out of jail for free card. But eventually your lifestyle, your belief system that you can afford to break the laws of your body is going to do you in. So when you think about it, someone that doesn't have a lot of money and enough of a defense, if they lied to get their kid into a school in a different part of the community because they don't want to bring their kid to one school, so they went to a more higher echelon school. Well, the fact that they got 5 years immediately versus paying $10,000, $20,000 to a lawyer. Well, now, okay, it's a quick punishment, and it's 5 years, yes. But would that person have learned something? Like not to break the law the next time because the punishment is so swift and so severe. Versus someone who can afford to break the law will keep stringing out their lifestyle, keep stringing out their issues. And then what's going to happen is they're eventually going to do themselves in. So it's all kind of a weird thing, but I'm going to clean this up and figure out my thought process here. But I've got to be able to see now the difference between the legislative branch and the judicial branch. And yes, there's going to be a disparity. And then the justice system is a perception. So that's why there's so much issues around the justice system and racial inequality, because it's all perception. That's the issue. And so if that's the issue, that the justice system is about perception, and you're going to get so many different people perceiving what punishment should be for whatever crime, we're always going to have riots if there is some kind of perceived inequality. We're always going to have something where the laws are going to change, legislation is going to change on a constant basis, and it's going to be what it is. So I've taken myself out of that fight, and there are some countries that I guess they had a lot more training for their police officers, and we only have a specific amount of training, which means that perceptions and imbalances are going to run freely between the police force as well as the criminals, and there isn't one taking a higher purpose or a higher stance, and so, or taking the higher road. And that's what it takes when you stop any kind of war or conflict, is one person takes the high road. It just takes one person to walk away or to do the right thing. And so that's the I guess the real bottom line of the J juice is be the one to do the right thing. Be the one to take the high road. Be the one to not feed into the back and forth. Be the one to change the way in which you speak, to change the way in which you, like, the fear campaigns. Some of you are afraid of fluoride. Like, I've seen memes where you're afraid of fluoride. Okay, in other countries, because other countries are taking on some of all the fear campaigns that we have here. And fluoride is not something to fear. It's a mineral. If it's in your water, okay, great. So there are other minerals in your water. And then guess what? If the water is poisonous, it wouldn't be drinkable. It wouldn't be in your water supply. The fact that you have J juice says that you're able to take in the water supply in your water, okay? And then you're able to release the excess fluoride and absorb what you need. So that's the thing, is taking yourself out of the war of all this chaos of what people perceive as somebody harming them. Take the higher road. The higher road is understand your biochemistry. So fluoride isn't something to fear. Chemtrails isn't something to fear. 5G isn't something to fear. Monsanto isn't something to fear. And when I've done the J juice, I stopped worrying about the tap water. I drink tap water. I have no fear of fluoride in the tap water. There's other minerals in there too that people are like, oh my God, there's mercury. Of course, we live in a world full of elements. There's so many different, laws of what is palatable and what is not, that don't worry because there's someone pointing out one element in your water or one element in your food supply, and they make it as if it was poisonous, and it's not. Okay? And so that's what you have to understand about the law, is that there are laws, there are FDA approvals, and there are laws. And if something is FDA approved, it means that there is something poisonous in it, but it's enough in there where it's not going to kill you right off the bat. So as long as it's prescribed by a doctor or the dosages are written on the bottle, and then if you take too much, you just call the poison control system or poison control center. Okay? So people have to understand that there are specific agencies and laws in place to let you know when something actually is poisonous. And then any other fear that you have based upon recommendations out there is someone's agenda to get you into that mode of fear, that mode of buying their natural product versus this other product. So you have to see the connections of marketing. The whole anti-fluoride campaign is a huge freaking marketing campaign for all these other products that don't have fluoride in it. Okay, fluoride isn't bad. Now, I haven't used toothpaste in probably since 2012. Okay? And it's not that I don't like, it's just I'm just used to using the water. I'm used to using water and peppermint oil. And then if I want to take off any stains, I have Diet or bentonite clay. Now, I could go use toothpaste if I want to, but I haven't in such a long time that I don't really need to. It's, I have some that lasts a long time. Toothpaste lasts after you squeeze it, it's done with. My oil and water and bentonite clay has lasted me for years. So there's some things that, I've changed because I've saved money on it, but not because I'm afraid of the chemicals. Because I understand the laws about it. The laws even by the laws of the land, the laws in my agencies, and all that stuff. So that's the whole beauty of J juice. When you're not in that fear campaign, you're not in that you're not buying into all these different perceptions. You know that there's a perception out there. You don't have to buy into it, and then then it's examining the laws and examining why a person's recommending this and this and that. And I found that when I looked at the internet and I saw all the different websites and all the different holistic sites, and they're all, having a spin on the human body and a spin on what life and death is, and they believe in death at some point, okay? No one in the holistic allopathic believes in indefinite life. And then they all have a spin and a solution. So they all create a problem. And then then there's this whole reaction, right? They said all your symptoms are reactions, and then they have a solution. So the Hegelian dialectic is very much alive in the holistic allopathic world. Not that they've created a problem, but they have pointed out a problem. They perceived as a problem. Okay? And then you have a reaction. Oh my God, fluoride is so horrible. Oh my God. And then you look at, these websites that say, oh yeah, pure fluoride is acid. Well, yeah, anything pure in a large amount is going to be acidic. I mean, come on, that's pretty duh. Okay, and then so that's the problem is they've isolated fluoride and isolated mercury and isolated all these things as if that's what they're giving you is just basically straight up fluoride. And then there's this reaction, so you're freaking out because you're in this emotional state. And then here's a solution. Here, buy some Burt's Bees or buy this or buy that. And so those people that don't know the laws, they'll believe all the stories. They'll be a victim of predatory marketing, and they'll go on their little diets and fear campaigns. And then this is how the world works. The world is run by fear and perception. And when you buy into the fear and perception, you better be able to afford all the things that go along with that. But you're not going to be able to afford it for a long time. So that's why the J Juice exists. So get you off that wheel of fear, get you off that wheel of buying into these perceptions that are completely the antithesis of life. And when you understand recommendations, it's based upon somebody's intention. That's the Hegelian dialectic. Problem, reaction, solution. There's a recommendation in there somewhere, and that's a solution. Not that they've created a problem, but they are going to manufacture a problem. Oh my God, the fluoride. Oh my God, the Monsanto, it has this, this, and that. Oh my God, genetically modified. You're welcome, Chris. I saw your little post. I had to mention it. Okay. And so, you don't want to fall into those. If you don't know the laws, you'll believe all the stupid stories out there. And then you deprive your body of the necessary nutrients, and you have these reactions that are going to be so undermining your body, mind, and spirit. And then you're spinning your wheels when you could be spinning your wheels where it does something for you by you balancing out your body, mind, spirit with the right chemistry. So recommendations are solutions. Recommendations are solutions. And why is that a solution? Read the words and point out the nouns and the adjectives, and then the you, the second person, the directives. Oh yeah, well, this is poisonous, and so you must take this in order to get this. Well, how is Jilly Juice different? Jilly Juice is just food. You got to deal with the healing. We're not trying to anesthetize you. Jilly Juice is not a drug. It's just food. It has the biochemistry, or it has the chemistry that is aligned with the biochemistry. And you've got to finally deal with pain. No one's drugging you. No one's doing anything to you. You've got to deal with your predispositions. Because pain is basically healing. And here is a reason. Prostaglandin hormone. A hormone is being suppressed. Prostaglandin inhibitors are used in aspirins and all the different painkillers out there. They suppress your healing process. And that is why your telomeres are shortened. So Jilly Juice, therefore, is food. It does not suppress your necessary hormones to heal. It is not an anti-inflammatory. It's not an antibiotic. It's not anything anti. It is just straight up food. It's a probiotic along with electrolytes, along with nutrition. And you drink water. End of story. There is nothing else. There is no recommendation. People go, well, how much should I drink? I don't know how much. When you eat food, how much food do you eat? Do you need someone to tell you how much food you should eat? Jilly Juice is food. Oh, but I don't want to have waterfall or whatever. Well, then you plan out the times. People don't like eating a lot of cabbage because they poop a lot with cabbage. But the reason why when they eat cabbage, they poop a lot is because that's what cabbage does. It energizes your immune system. But eating cabbage alone without doing the Jilly Juice and not fermenting it, people have been doing it for years and they're still dying. So why is that? Because they have leaky gut. And what we have found is the whole thing with the Jilly Juice and leaky gut is that the probiotics and the salts and the nutrition actually heal and seal your gut, so you're actually able to absorb, and then that's where the healing begins. The waterfalls, you get rid of the excess because you're energizing, because the salt as well as the nutrients and the probiotics energizes your immune system to where then finally you're able to eliminate all the crap that's been in your body for years and years and years. and then you heal and seal, and then you're able to take in the tap water and not be afraid of the fluoride, and then you're able to release the excess whatever elements that are in your body and then absorb what you need. And that is how you're able to move through microbiomes without being so weighted down by the accumulation of minerals and parasites and whatever, because all of those things are necessary in your body in a balanced way. Hey, Michael Savage. So anytime anyone recommends something to you, a solution for you, okay, there is an ulterior motive. Jilly Juice doesn't recommend anything to anybody. Hey, we're saying, you know what? Jilly Juice is food. There is a healing property, yes, with the cabbage and the kale, because it's vitamin U for ulcers, right? In the cabbage, and then the fermentation has, but we're not, and that's why I have to be very careful on my website, because I can't say the things that these other websites can say, because they're gearing towards a very specific symptom in these public websites. So if I have to be very careful in how I advertise, it means that I'm not doing the same thing that the holistic allopathic market is doing. That should please you, that I'm not acting like a freaking doctor. That should please you, that we're saying, hey, you're the one who determines your food intake. No one's going to tell you how much Captain Crunch cereal you're going to eat this morning, are they? You eat food based upon your needs. And if you know you have cancer, disease, and chronic illness, if you know you have high blood pressure, if you know you have all these different aging issues, maybe you need more nutrition. And Jilly Juice is just food. It's nutrition. Do you need more Captain Crunch? Well, Captain Crunch has never been known to be anything really on a high amount, a solution, okay? It's too much sugar. But sugar isn't bad. No, but Jilly Juice is too much salt. Well, it just depends. You know, I said too much sugar. Well, if you have imbalances in your fatty acids, then you might want to lay off the sugar for a minute and drink some of the Jilly Juice that has the salt, and it'll help take off some of that excess fatty acids. But have you ever seen somebody get a test to see if their salt is overabundant? No. If anything, people are under-salted. They have to go get fluids. What are fluids? They're electrolytes. If anything, people are, they're deficient in salt. They're deficient in electrolytes. They're going to the hospital getting the freaking electrolytes. And guess what? They're stabilized. What? They could have done that at home with Jilly Juice and drank water. Because you know what's in those IV bags? Those fluid bags in the hospitals? Glucose or dextrose. Saline, which is water and salt. A few minerals. And that's what stabilizes people when they become dehydrated. Okay? So there is nobody that's going to be deficient overabundant in salt. But people can be overabundant in sugar because sugar is the easiest thing to eat. So just do the J Juice. If I could do any recommendation, just do the J Juice. Don't live in the fear campaigns. Stop passing along fear. Just do the J Juice. Report if you want to. If you're gonna post anything on your Facebook, and I don't want to be the one to tell you what to post, but if I want to change the world, I post what I'm doing. And I post things without really without the intention of trying to change people's minds. I post the things that I'm learning, what I'm discovering, what I'm seeing as a disconnect. And then I mix in J Juice along so that way people know that J Juice is the catalyst to my clarity of thought. J Juice has been the catalyst to me dissecting the English language. I wouldn't be able to do this without J Juice, because clarity of thought is huge. And how you get clarity of thought? When you finally align your body, mind, and spirit with and clearing away the cobwebs and balancing your biochemistry. So what you do every day, what you post every day is a reflection of your habits, your lifestyle, your belief system. And so, so that's why we have a lot of people with disconnects. They say, oh, yeah, I love JJ's, and they're posting fear, and they're posting horrible, mean stuff, and they're posting this and posting that. And you're just like, dude, where's the peace within you? Oh, that's right. They're only doing JJ's a little bit, or they're not really there yet, and they still have chaos, and they're doing JJ's, but they still have chaos. But it's time that we have people that it's time that we have humanity start recognizing the disconnects and pointing them out, and then changing the way in which we do stuff. That's my dream. And that's what I'm doing. I'm learning first person, second person, third person. First person is an I, but you still have perceptions. Second person is you, okay, where you're trying to direct somebody. Third person is where you're talking about somebody. He, she, it, they, we, whatever, where it's well, not so much we is like second person. But her, him, all of that. When you're talking about somebody and you're referring somebody else, that's third person. You're getting a perception with an intention. That's gossip. That's the news. That's all the conspiracy community. Oh, it's his fault. It's the Rockefeller's fault. It's the Illuminati's fault. It's the government's fault. All these third person perspectives is all perception, and it's all jumbled, and it's all like not fact. Okay? Perceptions are not fact. And then learning second person is you, where you're trying to mind control somebody else. You should do this, you should do that. So I even do that, okay? Just so you know, I do that. It's very easy to try to, I've been trained my whole life to mind control other people. That's what activism is all about. That's what politics are all about, is how you try to sway somebody else to do something that you want them to do. And it's all you. That second person is you. First person is I. And first person fact is where you just say, I saw a car accident. First person perception is, I saw an ugly, bloody car accident. Well, that's a perception, because somebody else could say, well, I saw a very beautiful theatrical car accident and nobody was hurt. Okay, so now an investigator who's trying to figure out what the hell happened because he wasn't there has to interview so many people who were not connected, or they assume is not connected, and then they have to do majority rules. Well, 5 out of 10 people said, or 5 out of 50 people said that it was a beautiful theatrical accident. What the hell do they, right? And then 45 people said it was a bloody, horrific mess. Well, then you have to figure out why the 5 people said it was a beautiful theatrical accident. But you know what I'm saying? So then that's how they determine the fact. But even then, that's not fact. That's still perception. You're still getting perception. Unless you were actually there, okay? And you're not, and even what you say, it's just not going to be fact. So unless you were in the car accident, but even then, you're in the car accident and you say to someone, I was in this car accident, can we trust that you're going to say everything? Because maybe you don't know. That's the thing with when you hear from somebody else. If you haven't experienced it yourself, you're getting so much perception from somebody else. So that's why it's so hard to find proof for anybody. Proof is relative to perception. Proof is perception. Okay? The facts are there was a car accident. Okay, there's a car accident. There's 2 cars that are mangled up. And all these witnesses said that this car hit this car or whatever. But everything else, all the different adjectives around that is a perception. So when you look at history is written by somebody in third person. They weren't there. And now people can say the Bible was written by God, someone there, but then the Bible's been written by has been rewritten that we're getting somebody else's perception. So, and just like history, we're getting somebody else's perception of history. So then you can't even trust history. Even in first person, you can't even tell if that's first, because somebody can write. So that's why history is almost like it's meaningless, because it's based upon people's perceptions and how they want to direct the future. And so that's why JJ's is so important, to understand the laws of the human body, to then not worry about having to refer to history as a way to calibrate the present and direct the future. Because if you're looking at history to have the future, then you're not going to get anywhere. You're not going to evolve if history is always your reference point. And that's what the issue is with people are trying to remember all these horrible events from World War II and, the 1600s, is that, history is the reference point. Oh, we can't do this, but we're doing it. We can't have slavery. We can't have discrimination. We can't have wars. And guess what? All these remembrances are creating the future. So, doing the J juice, you complete the past. You're done. You're resolved. Now you're living for the present, and the future doesn't even exist. You're just living for the present in a balanced way. And you're not feeding off of the perceptions out there, because you will have your own perception that it's nobody else's business unless you want to make it their business. And then you speak from I, right? Then I speak from I. But you see me trying to mind control you guys too, right? When I say you, or he, or she, or it, or whatever, So you have to, so it's like recognizing how you even speak, recognizing how I even speak contributes. But then for me to even impart some kind of idea, I've got to be able to use all different parts of speech. Okay? And so the whole point of my post about laws and recommendations are based upon an intention of somebody to sell you something, intention of a specific, where they point out a problem, a manufactured problem they perceive as a problem. So when you're buying something from someone who has a solution, you're buying their perceived problem. And then you have this reaction like, oh my God, I have cancer disease and chronic illness and whatever. And then here they have a solution. So again, the Hegelian dialectic is where somebody manufactures a problem. And so they have a recommendation, which is a solution. And it's not law. It's not something you have to do. But these recommendations out there are based upon an agenda, an objective, where money is the driving force. Money is the driving force, because people in the holistic allopathic industry do not believe in indefinite life. Okay, when you don't believe in indefinite life, then it's easy to sell people on solutions, because it'll give them a temporary state of execution, and then they're happy with that temporarily, or they make this correlation equals causation that, oh, I drank this or did this, and I feel good now, so therefore it must be working. And then they're still going down the road of cancer disease, chronic illness, obesity, and all these different issues. But they're happy dying because you're sanctioning and just contributing to the death trajectory of your friends and family. And then people make money off of this. And this is how our system works, because everything's driven by money. Money, 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 money. And so if you enter the laws versus the recommendations, then you realize laws are black and white, and there are specific laws of the body. And if you can afford to violate those laws, you'll have a temporary state of execution, but eventually you will pay the piper. Those that can't afford to break the laws and they get punished right away for like 5 years in jail versus 14 days, okay, maybe they won't break the law again. Maybe they actually, instead of taking this concoction that someone sold them, they actually make a recipe and they poop out all of their trauma, and they rebuild their cell structures from the ground up, and they change their community. They're not feeding into the system of destruction of perception, because that's ultimately what happens is when the population feeds into the system of destruction of solutions and recommendations, and they have money attached to it. How are you changing the world? How are you changing your community? How are you even helping your community? That's what it comes down to. Is, are you truly helping your community at the root level, or are you feeding off of your community? Are you siphoning the life force off your community? And that's the difference of J Juice versus out there, because J Juice, it says, hey, you got to handle your predispositions. You got to face your demons, and there is no money involved. You want to buy my book? Great. If you want to, make the recipe on your own, great. But that's the only thing about J Juice is you have the choice. No one's putting anything. You're not over a barrel saying if you want to get well, you got to buy this. No. The recipe's out there, but you still have to feed yourself. And if you can't feed yourself, you can't afford to do J Juice. If you can't feed yourself. So there's nothing that is contingent for you to do J Juice. J Juice is purely a choice. And we're not sucking the life out of our community. We're not selling them a bill of goods, and we're not snowing them into buying our little stuff. It's really about, this is how I want to see humanity. This is how I change my community. is by finding a different way to make money, where I actually am earning the right for someone to give me 15, 14, $9 for my knowledge. But hey, the knowledge is, look on Facebook, the knowledge is basically for free if you take the time. So either way, you spend the time or you spend the money. You have choices with J Juice. There's some people out there, they're like, oh yeah, here, I put this together and let's do this, this, and this, and here's a recommendation for a solution to your problems, and here, pay me $15 and great. And they're not really well. Because look at you. Look at, your family. Look at, everyone that's been on all of your guys' supplements and pills and concoctions and whatever. It's cancer, disease, and chronic illness is still prevalent in your family, in your community. What have you done to change it? What have you done to change yourself? How could you possibly be selling something when you have chaos within you? That's where I'm coming from. How can these holistic allopathic people sell something when they have chaos within? That's the hypocrisy that Jilly just points out. And it doesn't get me a lot of reviews. But people will take my information and spin it to their agenda. I'm aware of that too. But they'll have to live with that. But time will tell, and you guys will figure it out. So, anyways, that's what I got to say today. But yeah, when you do J Juice, you get a conscience. You get, I get where I can see the hypocrisy and I'm able to point it out. And I've changed my marketing. I've changed a lot of things to fit my current biochemistry. And that's called evolution. And if you want to evolve, if I want to evolve, I got to actually physically change my biochemistry and physically really dissect what I say and what I do. And some people have sold their souls to the devil. Okay? When you sell your soul to the devil, anything goes. And some people pretend that they are very, very holy and very, very Christian, and they've sold themselves to the devil. And that's unfortunate. But that's the world that we live in. Have a good day. Do J Juice. Don't sell your soul to the devil.